You know that very specific moment of relief when you finally arrive at your vacation rental?
Oh, yeah. Completely.
Right. You punch the code into the lockbox, you turn the key, and you hear that heavy deadbolt slide into place. And you just let out this massive sigh.
It's like you're officially off the grid.
Exactly. You think to yourself, I'm safe, I'm secluded. The real world and all its chaos, it just can't touch me here.
Which is fascinating because it's really just the architecture of a getaway. I mean, we naturally assume a physical barrier, like a locked door or a private beach or a secluded desert yard, automatically equals a psychological barrier.
Yeah, we totally buy into it.
We do. We buy into this illusion that because we've stepped away from our daily routine, we've also stepped away from danger. But, that physical barrier is really only as strong as the systems behind it.
And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're looking at 3 truly terrifying real-life accounts of rental nightmares. We pulled these from the Mr. Nightmare YouTube channel.
And these are intense.
They really are. And our mission today isn't just to get spooked. We're trying to figure out why the architecture of our getaways keeps failing us. We are looking at the severe vulnerability of travel, the utter illusion of safety in short-term rentals, and really the unsettling psychology of being targeted.
Because all these sources share a really chilling commonality, right?
Yep.
It's the invasion of what should be a safe space.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting in the massive, colorful chaos of Coachella.
Talk about an overwhelming environment.
Seriously. So we have this 26-year-old narrator and her friend Alyssa. It's their first time at a festival this big, and they rent this little 2-bedroom Airbnb nearby. For the first 2 days, it's just the perfect escape.
Weird outfits, music everywhere.
Right, 0 responsibilities. But by day 3, exhaustion hits hard. So to push through that final day, they decide to take Molly.
Which fundamentally, that alters the mechanics of her situational awareness right there.
Oh, completely.
Because Molly isn't a pathogen. It floods your brain with serotonin, making you feel deeply connected to everyone around you. It lowers your inhibitions and artificially elevates your trust in strangers.
Which is the worst possible thing when you need to be careful.
Exactly. It's the exact opposite of the self-preservation instinct you need when you are unknowingly being stalked in a massive crowd.
And that chemical shift makes the timeline of what happens next so insidious. About an hour in, the high starts feeling off for her. Her brain is fighting the drug because she keeps noticing the same guy.
Just one guy in a sea of people.
Right. In a swirling crowd of thousands, this one specific guy stands out. He's older, maybe 35, scruffy dark hair, wearing a black shirt and heavy boots.
Which is a stark contrast to typical festival gear.
Exactly. Everyone else is in light, colorful stuff, and he's just appearing 20 feet away on my drink stand, then near a fence.
Wow.
She mentions it to Alyssa, but Alyssa just laughs it off as drug-induced paranoia.
Which is a textbook example of social conditioning overriding threat detection.
What's fascinating here is how the environment plays into it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sensory overload of a massive festival is already overwhelming for anyone. When you add a synthetic narcotic to the mix, your baseline for reality is severely compromised.
Yeah.
The stalker here isn't just following her. He is utilizing the massive, colorful chaos of the crowd as active camouflage. He knows her reality is blurry, so he just hides right in the blur.
He's totally weaponizing the environment. So the physical symptoms of her panic start kicking in. Her jaw is tense, her heart is racing, she feels entirely restless. And then he makes his move.
Of course he does.
He comes right up to her, smiling, trying to dance, and starts flirting. She turns to pull her friend Alyssa close so they can walk away together, but Alyssa is gone. They've been separated in the crowd.
And the stalker leverages that exact moment of separation. He immediately notices her panic and actually offers to help her look for her friend.
Which is so cruel.
It's a classic predator tactic. Isolate the target, then present yourself as the solution to the very anxiety you were causing.
God, that's dark. But she instinctively feels something is deeply wrong. She rejects his help and just pushes her way out of the crowd.
Good for her.
Yeah, but her body starts completely shutting down. Her vision goes squiggly-like. She says nothing will stay still. She finally gets a call through to Alyssa. They leave the festival early and head straight back to their locked Airbnb.
Back to the illusion of safe.
Right, she's so physically drained she just crawls into bed in the dark. But then she wakes up in this weird half-sleep state. She looks toward her bedroom doorway, and there is a tall figure standing completely still in the dark.
Oh my God.
It is the man from the festival.
See, her reaction to this is where the psychology gets genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, she screams her lungs out, Alyssa rushes in, flips on the light, and the doorway is empty.
And Alyssa convinces her that it's just the drugs.
Yeah.
A bad hallucination.
Yep. And the narrator wants to believe her.
Because her brain's alarm system is screaming. But her cognitive desire to, just be polite and have fun, it acts almost like an autoimmune response. It's attacking her own survival instincts just to maintain the illusion of safety.
But the next morning completely destroys that illusion. Alyssa wakes her up screaming.
Oh no.
They look at the hardwood floor in the hallway. There are muddy boot prints tracking from the front of the house, coming straight down the hall, stopping exactly at the bedroom doorway where she saw the figure,
Right.
and then turning around and going right back out the front door. Nothing was stolen. He just stood there and watched her sleep.
This completely shatters the idea that leaving a dangerous public space means you've left the danger behind. Just look at the massive breach of situational security here.
It's unthinkable.
This predator managed to visually track a target in a chaotic crowd of thousands, physically follow them out of the venue, locate their private Airbnb, bypass whatever locks were on the door, navigate a dark, unfamiliar house, stand in her doorway, and leave without making a sound.
Okay, but you said earlier she gaslit herself. But isn't it also just basic logic? Like, if you take hallucinogens, your baseline reaction should be to doubt your eyes.
That's a fair point.
I just have to wonder, is it possible the drugs actually saved her life by triggering a hypervigilant primal threat detection system in the crowd that she otherwise would have just politely ignored?
It's a really compelling paradox.
Yeah.
I mean, the substance that made her question her own reality might have also stripped away her social politeness just enough to make her run.
Yeah.
But it still leaves us with a terrifying precedent. The stalker was willing to follow her from a public space into a highly private one.
And that festival stalker used the chaos of a crowd as camouflage. But what happens when you remove the crowd?
Right, when you are in a high-end private location.
Exactly. The stalker has to adapt their camouflage, and as our second source shows, they do it digitally.
Yes, this brings us to the family beachfront villa in San Diego. A completely different environment. I mean, wealthy, secluded, inherently secure.
We have this young college guy visiting his girlfriend, Valentina. It's a beautiful house right on the beach. His guest room is on the lower level, slightly separated, with a view of the sand and these exterior stairs leading up to the second floor front door.
Okay, setting the scene.
They head out to the beach at sunset, and Valentina asks him to take photos for her Instagram. He takes, probably 100 pictures in the sand. But later, when he looks back at the camera roll, he notices a glaring anomaly.
There's always something in the background.
There is a man in the background of almost every single picture, just standing there, either staring intently at Valentina's back or staring directly into the camera lens.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, he's not just standing there, he's photobombing their memory.
Yeah.
The intrusion doesn't start physically, it starts digitally. The stalker inserts himself into their digital footprint before he ever makes a physical move. He is asserting dominance in plain sight.
And the narrator just brushes it off. He points it out to Valentina, she shrugs it off, and he literally mutters to himself that he has to be a man and hide his fear of being stalked.
Wow.
Why do we do this? Why do we see a glaring red flag in a photo and instinctively suppress our fear just to avoid making a scene?
Because society conditions us to prioritize social normalcy over our own intuition. Acknowledging the threat means shattering the pleasant reality of the vacation.
Right, it means ruining the vibe.
Exactly. It requires action, panic, and disruption. It's much easier to rationalize it as a coincidence. You tell yourself, well, it's a public beach, people are allowed to stand there, completely ignoring the predatory context of the stare.
Well, the universe doesn't let him ignore it for long. Like a horror movie director slowly turning up the heat.
They always do.
At midnight, they're at a beach bonfire. The narrator steps away to take a phone call from his boss. And while he's talking, he sees a black figure standing on the beach in the distance, just staring at him in the dark.
He's still there.
Still there. He pretends not to see him and turns away. The next day, the narrator is sick in bed. Valentina's family goes out to dinner in downtown San Diego, leaving him completely alone in that lower level room.
Oh, that's a bad setup.
Very bad.
Yeah.
He wakes up around 7 p.m., falls back asleep, and starts having a dream about rapid tapping on glass.
The subconscious picking up on environmental cues before the conscious brain even wakes up.
Exactly. He wakes up, The tapping stops. He rolls over to face the window, looking out at the exterior stairs, and there he is.
The guy from the beach.
The guy from the beach photos, wearing a black hood, standing right at his window. And the guy waves at him.
See, the visual of wave. That is a psychological weapon. It's an acknowledgement. It's the stalker saying, I know you see me, I know you are trapped, and I am entirely in control of this situation.
And the escalation happens instantly. The hooded man sprints up the exterior stairs. The narrator hears the supposedly locked front door just open.
He wasn't locked.
Guess not. The intruder is inside the house. The narrator throws his entire body weight against his bedroom door to barricade it.
Smart move.
He hears someone on the other side grab the door handle and violently jerk it, trying to put his full weight into breaking it down. But the door holds. The narrator calls 911. The police take 5 minutes to arrive, but by then, the creep is long gone.
And the aftermath of this break-in forces you to completely reevaluate the timeline of the stalker's motive.
Yeah, because when Valentina's family arrives and the police search the house, they realize the intruder didn't take electronics. He didn't take cash.
What did he take?
He stole Valentina's clothes and bathing suits, and far worse, they find a hidden camera physically planted in the corner of her bedroom.
Finding out a camera was left behind. I mean, that completely changes the genre of the story.
It really does.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see a disturbing evolution of motive. It changes it from a crime of opportunity to a highly targeted, deeply personal fixation.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
It forces us to examine the mechanics of public visibility. Something as mundane as a long Instagram photo shoot on a crowded beach can instantly draw unwanted, obsessive attention.
Because he was watching the whole time.
Exactly. The camera placement proves the stalker wasn't just interested in a brief violent encounter. He wanted permanent, invasive access to her most private moments. He wanted to own her space.
So the San Diego stalker was trying to breach the perimeter. He wanted to get inside. But the terrifying logical conclusion here is, what happens when the perimeter was compromised before you even arrive?
Right. What if the threat is already living inside the architecture of your getaway?
This brings us to the Palm Springs incident.
Which raises an important question about the entire short-term rental economy.
It really does. So we have a couple who rents a modern one-story Airbnb out in the desert near Palm Springs. It's highly isolated, glass doors facing the backyard, polished concrete floors, a small pool, and a little storage shed out back.
Very aesthetic, but very exposed.
Just sand, scrub, and scattered houses way off in the distance. They never even meet the host. They just punch a code into the keypad to get in. But for the first 2 nights, they hear unexplainable things.
Like what?
A light thump against the side of the house at 2 a.m., a distant voice calling out while they're sitting by the pool.
And they do what everyone does. They aggressively explain away the danger.
Yeah.
They blame the house settling or the desert wind or maybe an animal brushing against the stucco.
But on night 3, the illusion completely shatters. It's midnight. The narrator is awake, scrolling on his phone, and notices light bleeding through the blinds. He peeks out and sees a motion light triggered in the backyard.
Just one light.
Just one. It stays on for 20 seconds, shuts off, and then 10 seconds later, another motion light further down the side of the house clicks on.
See, it's sequential. It is a mechanical response to physical movement. That's not a burst of wind or a coyote darting across the yard.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like a slow-moving countdown clock. His girlfriend wakes up, sees it, and panics. They watch as another light turns on near the back fence, then another closer to the pool.
Someone is pacing.
It is a clear, deliberate path of someone casually walking the perimeter of their glass-walled house in the dead of night.
Terrifying.
The girlfriend begs him to shut the blinds, lock the bedroom door, and just stay inside. But the narrator feels that protective urge. He grabs a large kitchen knife, hides it from his girlfriend, and slowly opens the back sliding glass door to investigate.
Oh, that is an egregious mistake.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Geographically, they are entirely isolated. By opening that sliding glass door, he surrendered the only physical barrier he had left between himself and an unknown number of threats.
But wait, if you don't investigate, you're trapped in a glass box waiting to be ambushed. Doesn't even risky action give you a tactical advantage over just cowering in the dark? Is there a danger in the hero instinct when you're completely isolated?
I mean, action feels better than inaction, sure. But tactically, stepping from a lit house into a dark, unfamiliar desert yard while holding a kitchen knife is a massive disadvantage.
Because they can see you.
Yes. You are blinding yourself while illuminating your position to whoever is already out there waiting.
Well, he steps into the dead, quiet desert night. He looks around the pool area. Nothing. But then he looks down.
What does he see?
In the sand, clear as day, under the motion light, are heavy shoe prints. They lead from the side of the yard directly to the closed doors of that small storage shed.
Okay, so they're cornered.
He follows the prints. He stands 3 feet from the closed shed doors. He listens for breathing. 5 seconds of dead silence. And then, from inside the pitch-black shed, a man's voice says in a completely normal, calm tone, "Excuse me, could you open the door, please?"
Oh, that makes my skin crawl.
And then the voice lets out a quiet, creepy little laugh.
The specific phrasing of that request is deeply alarming. I mean, this isn't a panicked burglar caught in the act.
Not at all.
The politeness, the manners, followed by the laughter, it demonstrates a terrifying level of psychological gamesmanship. The intruder is entirely in control of his emotions, finding amusement in the terror he is inflicting. He knows exactly how much power he holds in that moment.
Yeah, and the narrator bolts back to the house, locks the glass door, and calls 911.
Oh, goodness.
But they have to wait 20 agonizing minutes for the police to navigate out to the desert. And while they wait, they watch the motion lights outside continue to turn off and on.
He's just walking around.
The intruder is just pacing around their house in the dark, mocking them. The police finally arrive, clear the yard, and open the shed. It's empty. But inside, they find food wrappers, blankets, and water bottles. Someone had been actively squatting in there for days.
Unbelievable. But, the physical proximity is bad enough. But the investigation uncovers a detail that fundamentally breaks the concept of the private rental.
Yes, this is the craziest part. As the couple is frantically packing up to flee to a motel, one of the police officers holds up a dirty, worn-out baseball hat. He asks if it belongs to either of them. He found it pushed down behind the couch inside the Airbnb.
Inside the house.
The couple realizes with absolute certainty that the hat was not there when they arrived.
So the squatter in the shed hadn't just been outside, he had been inside the house with them.
The police casually mentioned that the squatter likely had the door code. He could have been standing in their living room while they were sleeping in the bedroom, and they'd have no way of knowing.
That is the ultimate nightmare.
They flee. And to make matters worse, when they frantically message the Airbnb host the next morning to explain that an intruder had access to the property, the host reads the messages and completely ghosts them.
Of course they do.
No reply, no apology, just total silence.
And that silence exposes the massive liability loophole in the gig economy of travel. I mean, think about it. When you book a traditional hotel room, you are protected by centralized security infrastructure.
Right, there are logs and cameras.
Exactly. There are keycard logs that track exactly whose key opened your door and at what time. There are security cameras in the hallways, front desk staff, a corporate liability structure. But when you book an isolated short-term rental, you are entirely at the mercy of the property owner's personal security habits.
And most of them are absentee owners anyway.
Precisely. Do they actually change the digital keypad code between every single guest? Rarely.
Almost never.
Right. And who else has the physical backup keys? Cleaners, handymen, local property managers. Are they checking the outbuildings for squatters before you arrive? No. The host ghosting them isn't just rude, it's a legal defense mechanism to avoid admitting that their security protocols were negligent or non-existent.
Wow. So if we pull all these threads together, looking at the Coachella stalker, the San Diego digital intruder, and the Palm Springs squatter, the overriding theme is how astonishingly fragile the boundary is between a fun getaway and a nightmare.
It really is a thin line.
In every single story, the victims were given early warning signs. The lingering gaze in the festival crowd, the creepy figure in the background of the sunset photos, the unexplainable thumps against the desert house.
And in every instance, the initial human reaction was to dismiss the anomaly, to blame it on drugs or blame it on the wind, or just to prioritize societal politeness over personal safety.
Yeah.
So the core takeaway here isn't just to be scared, it's to retrain your instincts. Trust your gut when a high feels wrong or a person seems off. Do not let the desire to save the vacation vibe override your biological alarm bells.
Always listen to the alarm bells.
And practically speaking, when you arrive at a rental, audit the space. Lock the doors, secure the windows, and literally physically look behind the couch.
Because you never know what or who was left behind by the last guest.
Exactly. It forces an uncomfortable evaluation of our own travel habits. I mean, what stands out to you, the listener, when you consider how you book your next vacation or how you handle yourself in an unfamiliar, chaotic crowd? Are you actually paying attention to the periphery?
We have to be.
We can't control the actions of strangers, whether that's a determined predator or an opportunistic squatter. But maintaining rigorous situational awareness and fiercely trusting your instincts when the environment feels wrong is unequivocally your best defense.
It really is a massive amount to process. But I want to leave you with a final, lingering question to mull over before you book your next trip. We talked at the very beginning about that sigh of relief when you lock the door of your vacation rental.
The illusion of safety.
Right. When you rent a space for a weekend, you are fundamentally buying a product. And that product is the illusion of an empty, private home. But think about the invisible logistics of that space. How many people, underpaid cleaners, previous guests from weeks ago, opportunistic squatters, or absentee hosts who haven't changed the keypad code in a year, actually have the ability to unlock that front door? And when you finally turn off the lights in a strange house, how truly alone are you?